We know that it was a big operation, since it was an operation where they used helicopters and special forces on the ground. And we know when they get to this kind of operations, it's we could suspect that it's a very important target. And we know that they've been following the leadership of the Islamic State since a while. And we know that Baghdadi himself, so the predecessor of Abu Ibrahim, was killed like 20 kilometers away from this area. And we can suspect also that they got to him after the prison break of Hasaka, because we can suspect that some communication was made between him and maybe the people operating in Hasaka, which gave some leads for the Americans. And we should know too that such an operation on the border with Turkey, of course, was coordinated with the Turkish side, because otherwise the U.S. helicopters wouldn't have been able to operate there. And it was also coordinated on the ground with the dominant force there, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Since we know from local witnesses that Hayat Tahrir al-Sham blocked all the roads that lead to this area, plus U.S. helicopters in more than one area to monitor all this area. But on the ground, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham put checkpoints and prevented people from going into the spot where it was happening, knowing that for more than 2 hours, almost 3 hours of fighting.
Let's talk about the individual himself, Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurashi. Who is he?
Actually, he's a jihad veteran. He used to have a prominent position as a judge in the ranks of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, and then in the ranks of the Islamic State when it was constituted in 2006. He knew U.S. prisons in Iraq. He's from a small village next to Mosul. He belongs to the Turkmen minority. Doesn't mean that he is Turkmen himself, but they speak Turkmen, but they could be Arabs in this area. And he was a very close aide of Baghdadi. And we suspect that in the latest video appearance of Baghdadi back in 2018, we suspect that he was there, because we see some of the Islamic State leaders that blurred, and we suspect that he was there speaking to Baghdadi. So it's not that surprising to see that he wasn't far from the place where Baghdadi was killed, actually.
And you mentioned that Islamic State raid on a prison a couple of weeks ago in Hasakeh province, also in Syria. That kind of suggesting the group is trying to reassert itself at the moment. So how big a blow is this, the death of their leader?
Well, it's a big blow, for sure, on the short term, of course. But we should also know that he didn't have the presence or the aura of Baghdadi. Baghdadi ruled the Islamic State from 2010 up to 2019. Baghdadi was the person who exported the Islamic State outside of Iraq to many areas in the world, Africa, Asia, etc. And he had a long period of rule, Baghdadi. Compared with that, Abu Ibrahim has almost like 3 years of ruling the Islamic State, and he wasn't of a big figure actually in the ranks of the Islamic State. He didn't have the same stature as Baghdadi. So of course, on the short term, it's a blow for the group. But as every jihadi group, leaders are replaceable. There's no personification of leadership in the ranks of jihadi group for religious reasons on one hand, but also for very practical reasons, because they know that they can be killed at any time. And at one point, if the leader is killed, in order for the group to survive the leadership shouldn't be also focused on one person. So this is how it goes. Of course, one more time, it's a blow on the short term, but of course also he'll be replaced very quickly.
But just very briefly then, do we know who it is who might replace him?
We don't. Actually, even him, we still have many black dots on his CV, because the Islamic State didn't recognize that Al-Mawlawi that we are talking about is actually Abu Ibrahim. But now that he's dead, we'll get to know for sure. But as every jihadi group works, they keep the mystery till the end. Baghdadi, we saw him for the first time when they declared the caliphate in Mosul. So we'll see who's going to come. But of course, they'll be very secretive about who he is and where is he operating.